Hi everyone. Over the past number of years, we've seen a massive attack on Irish neutrality by the Irish political establishment, who are more interested in siding up to Brussels than representing the people of Ireland that they claim to represent, but we know they fundamentally don't. The Irish government are mere lapdogs for Brussels, mere branch managers for Brussels, in the extent that our sovereignty and our neutrality is being sold off. Over the past number of years, we've seen the Irish government sign us up to PESCO, European Union battle groups, and a drive towards this rearming Europe plan, which again is about profiting the private equity firms, the billionaires, the big corporations, to the expense, detriment, cost, and lives of ordinary people. Wars never serve the interests of working class people. They are the ones that suffered the fallout of these imperial adventures by these absolutely out of control maniacs at the top of society who try and call the shots. Over the past 3 years, an investigation has found that 2,000 military aircraft with munitions on board have stopped in Irish airports since 2022. This is an astounding figure. But anybody who's been paying attention over the last 20 years, we've seen Shannon being used as a military airbase by the United States following the September the 11th attacks. And over 2 million troops have used Shannon Airport on the ways towards the illegal invasion in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many more of these disgraceful wars that took place where ordinary people suffered the consequences of, because to push an imperial adventure by these psychopaths at the top of society. But only 0.1% of those applications were refused that brought troops, equipment, and munitions into Irish airports. Now, they have to apply, supposed to, but they very rarely do, for a special exemption for the Irish government. And then that would allow military aircraft to land. But as I said, only 0.1% were refused. So it's absolutely astounding to, in terms of using our airfields to land and to use as a launch pad for attacks, for illegal invasions on other countries. But of course, the sovereignty of other countries doesn't matter. It only matters when it talks about the narrative and the propaganda that the Irish establishment and the European and US establishment push on people. Of course, the Irish government will say we're military neutral. This is important because the whole context of this is that we're not part of any military alliances or military pacts. But of course, they've signed up to a NATO partnership for peace. They've done a bilateral deal with Ukraine, not part of the European Peace Facility, which is a bit ironic when you think about using the peace facility to raid it for the weapons of war. And of course, that they say it's non-participation in common defence arrangements or mutual defence arrangements, which is absolutely just a misnomer. We've already seen NATO commanders come to Ireland and train Irish troops. We also see Irish so-called peacekeepers being sent abroad, and even they're talking now about so-called peacekeepers being sent to now Ukraine at some stage in the future. The Irish government are no friends to the working class people of Ireland or the ordinary people of Ireland. They're no friends to the people who are standing up for Irish independence. They're no friends to people who are standing up for Irish neutrality. As I said in my opening remarks, the Pacific settlements of international disputes is enshrined in the Irish Constitution. But when was the last time you heard the political establishment looking and using our diplomacy for a strong voice? For years and years, Ireland has always had a strong voice between East and West. People like Frank Aiken against the Non-Proliferation Treaty in terms of nuclear weapons in 1968 was a strong proponent and voice for that. Other people were strong proponents for using our voice for diplomacy. And as I said as well, in the context of our own colonised past, we know better than most in terms of what impacts that has on society and not being part of any military alliance. So whether it's London, Brussels, Washington, say no to all these military alliances and put the interests of Ireland first. But of course, when Ireland are doing their deals with the United States, even economic deals, it's always in the national security interest of the United States. It's not interesting. So quid pro quo is to let them use it to conduct their illegal invasions and brutal wars on unfortunate, poor people who will suffer the consequences of those wars with bombs dropped on them, over 1 million killed in Iraq. Think about all the illegal invasions. Think about previous to that, and go back to Yugoslavia. But again, the Irish government are just able lapdogs for the private equity firms, their masters in Washington, D.C., despite all the nonsense that's been spun around at the moment about this tit for tat battle. Fundamentally, that's who they represent. They've no interest in serving the interests of ordinary people. It's foreign international capital, private equity firms, billionaires, corporations at the expense of ordinary people. It's time people wise up to what's going on and say no to the use of any of our air bases by any foreign power, let alone the United States or any imperial power pushing their illegal invasions and horrible wars on so many countries around the world. So thanks for supporting my videos. Stand up for Irish neutrality, stand up for peace, stand up for diplomacy, and stand up for independence, which the same as Wolfe Tone wrote in a Spanish pamphlet back in the 1790s to say independence has to be intertwined with neutrality in terms of the context of not aligning with any imperial power on their battles and wars on foreign soils to push their agenda, to plunder the resources and exert their dominance and their ideologies on other countries. So thanks a lot for the support for my videos, and please press subscribe to my channel. So from Dublin, Islam, take care.